Look at Part 1. You will hear 3 different extracts. For questions 1 to 6, choose the answer A, B, or C, which fits best according to what you hear. There are 2 questions for each extract. Extract 1.
The idea of fame has changed dramatically over the past 2 decades. In the past, you needed to be a movie star, an athlete, or a world-renowned musician to attain any significant public following. But now, with the rise of social media, especially platforms like Instagram and TikTok, anyone with a phone and a ring light can achieve influencer status. What's more fascinating is how quickly people are willing to put their trust in these digital personalities. They endorse a product, and it sells out in minutes. They express an opinion, and thousands take it as gospel. There's power there. Immense power. And it's largely unregulated. Take, for example, health and wellness influencers. Many of them have no medical training whatsoever, yet their followers take their advice as if it were prescribed by a licensed physician. We're seeing a blurring of the lines between entertainment, advertisement, and misinformation. And because these influencers build parasocial relationships with their audience, the trust factor is enormous. It's also changed the way younger generations view success. Children are growing up saying they want to be influencers rather than doctors or scientists. They see online fame as a career path, not a byproduct of achievement. Some would argue that's progress, breaking down barriers to success. Others might say it reflects a culture obsessed with image over substance. The point is, influencer culture is no longer a fringe phenomenon. It's the mainstream. And the question is, how do we ensure accountability in a world where influence is so easily bought and sold?
Extract 2.
So, what did you think of the human algorithm? It definitely made me look at AI differently.
Same here. I mean, I already had some idea of how AI was being used, but I didn't realize how deeply it's integrated into our lives. Recommendation systems, predictive policing, hiring processes. It's everywhere.
What struck me most was the bias. I used to think of AI as objective, but the book shows how these systems inherit human prejudices from the data they're trained on.
Exactly. That chapter on facial recognition was disturbing. The fact that it misidentifies people of color at significantly higher rates. And that these systems are being used by law enforcement? That's worrying.
And there's the issue of transparency. If a system makes a decision, like rejecting your loan application or flagging you as high risk, there's no real way to challenge it. It's like being judged by a black box.
I also liked how the author didn't just criticize AI, but proposed solutions. More regulation, better data practices, and human oversight. It wasn't just doom and gloom.
True. And it makes you think twice before blindly trusting anything that calls itself smart or automated.
Yeah, AI might be efficient, but that doesn't mean it's fair.
Extract 3.
When we talk about making cities sustainable, people often imagine planting more trees, building bike lanes, and banning plastic bags. And yes, those things help. But real sustainability goes far deeper than that. It's about designing systems, transport, housing, energy, water that can function efficiently for decades, even centuries. And that's no easy task. One major issue is that city planning tends to be reactive, not proactive. We build infrastructure for today's population, and by the time it's completed, it's already outdated. Then there's the problem of retrofitting older cities. It's much harder to make sustainable improvements in a city that was never designed with the environment in mind. Think of London or New York. Centuries-old road networks, historic buildings that can't be demolished, and a dense population. And let's not forget politics. City planning is subject to changing governments, short-term thinking, and budget constraints. What gets approved today may be scrapped tomorrow. That's why I always argue that true sustainability needs to be legislated, not just encouraged. Incentives are great, but mandates are better. Technology can help, of course. Smart grids, AI-managed traffic systems, waste-to-energy plants. But tech alone won't save us. Without a cultural shift, we'll continue to treat symptoms rather than causes. We need a population that values sustainability in its daily decisions, not just when voting or protesting. It's a long road, and we're already behind, but I remain optimistic. Every city that commits to change, however small, is a step in the right direction.
Now turn to Part 2. Part 2. You will hear a lecturer talking about the psychological phenomenon known as imposter syndrome. For questions 7 to 15, complete the sentences with a word or short phrase.
Today, I'd like to talk about a psychological phenomenon that affects a surprisingly large number of people, particularly high achievers. Imposter syndrome. In simple terms, imposter syndrome is the inability to internalize one's own success. Those who experience it often believe that they don't deserve the praise or recognition they receive, and they fear being exposed as a fraud. Now, instead of attributing their accomplishments to talent or hard work, these individuals put their success down to luck, timing, or even having manipulated others into thinking they're more capable than they really are. The term itself was coined in the 1970s by psychologists who were researching high-performing women who consistently doubted their own abilities. One key aspect of imposter syndrome is the constant fear of being found out, despite clear evidence of competence. People feel as though they've managed to fool the system, and that it's only a matter of time before someone realizes they don't belong. The syndrome is often associated with perfectionism and overachievement. Those affected tend to set excessively high standards for themselves, and when they don't meet them, they see it as proof of their inadequacy. What's more, certain personality traits, such as high sensitivity or intense self-awareness, may contribute to the development of these feelings, especially in competitive academic or professional environments. Ironically, many of those suffering from imposter syndrome are actually at the very top of their field. Scientists, surgeons, artists, even CEOs. And yet, their internal narrative convinces them they're merely pretending to be competent. So, what can be done about it? One key step is to open up about these feelings. Sharing experiences with peers and seeking mentorship or guidance can help to normalize the emotion and reduce its intensity over time.
Now turn to Part 3. Part 3. You will hear part of a discussion between two well-known travel journalists, Emma Cole and Marcus Grant, talking about changes in the travel industry. For questions 16 to 20, choose the answer A, B, C, or D, which fits best according to what you hear.
Marcus, have you noticed how dramatically the landscape of travel has shifted over the last decade? I mean, travel used to be a kind of escape, but now it's almost become an extension of our daily digital lives.
Absolutely. Social media has had a profound impact. It's not just about experiencing a place anymore, it's about curating the experience for others to see. There's this subtle pressure to make every trip look meaningful rather than feel meaningful.
Yes! I've spoken to countless younger travelers who choose destinations based purely on how Instagrammable they are, rather than any genuine interest in the culture or history.
And that, ironically, is creating this strange homogenization. Everyone's chasing the same photo ops, so they end up crowding the same scenic viewpoints or cafes. Meanwhile, genuinely enriching experiences, like talking to locals or exploring quiet neighborhoods, often get overlooked.
Exactly. And yet, there's been this quiet rise in the demand for authenticity. Ironically, from the same people. They're realizing that curated travel can feel hollow, so we're seeing this new wave of slow travel, which is all about depth over breadth.
Yes, staying in one place for longer, avoiding the tick box tourism. But I wonder how sustainable it really is, given the commercial pressures tour companies face. Not every operator can afford to cater to niche tastes.
True, but the pandemic accelerated some of these shifts. Remote work made long-term stays possible, and travelers began seeking out less crowded, lesser-known destinations. I think that changed both demand and supply, at least temporarily.
Temporarily being the operative word. I've already seen signs of reversion. Shorter trips, fast itineraries, bargain deals. People are torn between wanting unique experiences and fearing they'll miss out if they don't squeeze in everything.
And let's not forget climate consciousness. There's a lot more talk about carbon footprints, and some travelers are making choices based on that. Like taking trains instead of flights or avoiding over-touristed areas.
Yes, although in practice, cost still trumps conscience for many. Ethical travel remains more aspirational than actual, but I do see hope in grassroots initiatives. Local guides, community-based tourism. They're shaping the future in quieter, but more lasting ways.
I agree. And as journalists, we've got a role to play in highlighting those quieter stories, not just the glossy destinations.
Now turn to Part 4. Part 4. You will hear 5 short extracts in which young innovators talk about how they became interested in their fields and what they put their success down to. Look at Task 1. For questions 21 to 25, choose from the list A to H how each innovator became interested in their field. Now look at Task 2. For questions 26 to 30, choose from the list A to H what each innovator says is behind their success. While you listen, you must complete both tasks. Speaker 1.
I was 12, I think, when I saw this documentary about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It was horrifying. Millions of tons of plastic swirling in the ocean. I remember just sitting there, stunned, wondering why no one had solved it. That feeling didn't go away, and soon I was sketching ideas in a notebook for devices that might clean it up. The problem, of course, is turning a sketch into something real. My early prototypes were laughable, frankly, but I wasn't embarrassed. I tested, failed, adjusted, and tested again. That process never ends, but I think it's what's helped me grow.
Speaker 2.
My cousin worked in a lab developing alternative proteins. We were close, and I used to pester her with questions about synthetic meat and lab-grown eggs. That curiosity eventually snowballed into something bigger. I did science fairs, joined food tech forums, even started experimenting with plant cultures at home. I honestly don't think I'd have gotten this far without the online forums and communities I joined. It's incredible how generous people can be with their knowledge. I've never felt like I was working alone, even in my bedroom lab.
Speaker 3.
It all started with a group project in Year 10 where we had to design a sustainable city. We built this entire model with solar panels, rooftop gardens, water recycling. It really fired my imagination. From that point on, I knew I wanted to work on sustainable infrastructure. What really helped, though, was learning how to explain our ideas. It's not enough to invent something cool, you have to get people excited about it. That ability to present and pitch has opened doors I never expected.
Speaker 4.
I guess you could say I was a pretty impatient teenager. I'd get so frustrated when websites or apps were badly designed. At some point I just thought, why not learn to fix it myself? So I started reading blogs, teaching myself code, building my own tools. A lot of people think you need massive funding to do what I've done, but honestly, I had next to nothing at the start. What I did have was time, free tutorials, and a second-hand laptop. You'd be amazed what you can build when you're resourceful.
Speaker 5.
It sounds silly, but I clicked on a random YouTube video once, some guy using 3D printing to make custom prosthetics. I ended up watching hours of related content that night. That rabbit hole led to me studying biomedical engineering and eventually designing low-cost prosthetic limbs for children. I've been fortunate to cross paths with some incredibly bright minds, especially during my internship abroad. Just being around those people sharpened my thinking and gave me a sense of possibility. I think we all lifted each other up.